So Adi, what do you want to see come out of today's event?
Today is really important because we are trying to form a system that is versatile and responsive to what's happening. Science is changing, technology is changing, and the way that we do science and technology together, which brings innovation into our society, is also changing. So if we are not urgent about it and connected up to the people who can make the changes, we're not going to be able to do it in time to be effective with the next generation of innovation in our society.
You also talked about doing business with relatively small organisations. How do you find those organisations and how do you go about doing that?
Well, one example is we just literally drew a line 20 kilometres around our organisation and started to look for the companies and the places where people were doing innovation. We were genuinely surprised. We found some engineering firms that were doing really cutting edge work with additive technology. We found a boat manufacturer who actually makes boats for the US Navy. We didn't even know that these sorts of people existed. So we got about 30 of them in the room and started to talk about how can we be more innovative here in the south of Sydney and how can ANSTO help with that innovation. It was really exciting for me to find people who didn't know much about us, and we certainly didn't know about them, but they were right on our doorstep. So I think there are more people on our doorstep than we can really believe, and finding them is really easy because they're not far away.
Because you become a bridge from private business and the government sector. Do you find much friction bringing those two worlds together?
I think there is sometimes friction because there are not aligned agendas. Government is trying to move innovation forward, but small companies often feel embattled. They've got lots of pressures on them. And so the ability for them to engage with government programs can be quite low. It's got to be made simpler so that when they do find the ability to work with government, then they can say good things about it. That amplifies it, and then that starts to create momentum. But I was amazed at the number of small companies who are self-financing their own innovation, and they're doing it because they simply don't know that there are real connections there. So apart from the companies that might find it a bit frustrating, there's some that just flourish because they start to find they can do things they never imagined.
So with these relatively small companies, it's not that they don't want to work with government, is it just they're just not aware that there's opportunities?
Most companies find the connections that lead to their early growth. But to move them from what I call lifestyle companies into genuinely great international companies, they have to find a new set of relationships.
Yeah.
They have to find a new set of ways of doing their business. And that's where I think organisations like ANSTO, CSIRO, the growth centres come in, because they have the opportunity to take what's already great about a company and add another layer to that and really give it.
And take them on an international path that they might not have been able to see.
Most people who start companies start with the intention of solving quite a particular problem. But very often if they learn how to do that, they can solve many different types of problems.
Yeah.
And I think the ability of Australians to innovate in engineering and in instrumentation and in devices is just awesome. I mean, it's probably because we're far away from everybody else. We just don't know it's too difficult, so we just do it. And I've found so many companies in Australia that have that character. They know how to solve problems because they do it just naturally.
So in the innovation space, leaders tend to be a little bit older because you need to spend a few more years to get the leadership experience. But how can we bring some more younger people into this space?
Most transformative change happens with young people. So you've got to do everything in your power as a senior leader to make sure that young people are coming into the system. So my passion has been to create a graduate program at ANSTO. We've done that every 2 years for a number of years now. I'd like that program to be 10 times bigger now. So that's the next goal, is to move from 11 to 20 people a year to 100 to 200 people a year coming to ANSTO, to the institutions that they represent as well, and to create a new pipeline of young talent. Innovation is ultimately about people. You can have the toys, you can have the joys, you can have the excitement, but ultimately it's about the people.
And a lot of the attention has been on nurturing the entrepreneurs, but we also need to nurture the research talent.
Yeah, well, researchers are really interesting because quite a high proportion of them, I reckon 30 to 40%, are inherently entrepreneurial. But we actually lose that because we make them focus only on excellence. I think excellence is important, but excellence and usefulness welded together is what we really want in our society. So most entrepreneurs will achieve excellence, but can we make that useful excellence? That's what innovation is, useful excellence, putting technology to work.
Technology, business, useful excellence, love it. Thank you, Adi.
Thank you very much.